This is the Healthy Business Podcast, the show for ambitious business owners who want to grow and scale in a healthy way. I'm Sarah Cook, and I'll be sharing with you tips, inspiration, and proven methods from leading business experts, entrepreneurs, and health and wellness professionals to help you grow your business with more income and having more impact, but in a way that works for you. Because when you have clarity and strategy, you can achieve the results you want. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Healthy Business Podcast. I have a wonderful guest with me today, and I can't wait to chat to the amazing Elissa Kaner. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, me too. And I'm really excited for this subject as well. So I'm going to read a little bit about what you do and how you help people. And then we're just going to delve into a really open conversation. So I'm hoping that our listeners can enjoy this, because we're going to be talking about legal protection for your business, but also Elissa brings in energy and really kind of leaning into more of a kind of a holistic approach. So I'm really excited to see where we go with this. So Elissa is an attorney for entrepreneurs, helps empower them to legally protect their business and truly step into your own CEO power. And she is a manifesting generator, opened a crystal shop in autumn 2021. And she's also qualified in NLP, hypnotherapy, and life coaching. So I love the fact that you're kind of bringing what a lot of people think is quite a serious thing from a legal perspective, but also bringing, you know, the lovely energy pieces into this. So you really can step into your CEO power. Mm-hmm. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's going to be a fab conversation, I think. Yes, one of the things that I always ask all of my guests before we kind of kick off really into the depths of conversation is what a healthy business means to you. And I would love your take on this, given your experience in all these different areas.
Well, I think there's I have a lot of things that are coming to mind right now. And I think one of the things a healthy business is one that is really protected on all levels, which I think is really important. Legal protection, anything that doesn't, I would say, there's the legal piece. Get your legal in order, and that really helps you have this healthy business, because you are able to really show up at 110% for your clients, knowing that you've got all your protections in place. And I also think, following what lights you up makes for a healthy business, because if you are, you feel stuck in what you do because you think that that's what your audience expects from you, or that's what you think you're supposed to be doing because you've been so good at it and you've been so successful at it, but you don't like it anymore, that's not going to be good for your mental health. So I definitely think that, really making sure that your business lights you up and you're excited about it every day. And that'll really help you have a healthy business.
I love that. It's so important, isn't it, to have something that lights you up, the passion for what you do. It has to be there. And I think also, that can change, as we grow, as we learn and we develop and we kind of continue on our journey, that can change. And it's okay to change that as well. I know from when I, back from my beginning of my corporate career to then setting up my first business and evolving into where I am now. And I think that is that true CEO power, isn't it? Of really having that awareness, that curiosity, and following what lights you up to enable you to show up in the best possible way. I love that.
Absolutely. Because if your business isn't lighting you up, you're not going to show up the way that you want to for your clients. So
yeah. And I guess that's probably the foundation for you, kind of incorporating the two elements of what you do and how you help people. So I want to hear more about this. How did you get into what you're doing now?
Yeah. So I kind of a funny story, because I wanted to get out of my 9-to-5 so bad that the only way out that I saw was doing something totally different and doing a full 180, giving up the law. And so I went to health coaching, holistic health coaching school quickly. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be a health coach for attorneys because, I see them burning out all the time. And it's literally, they're trying to get their billing done because they get a bonus for how much they bill every year. And it's like, you get rewarded for the more you work, the more you're rewarded in this industry. Right. And it's just a really, really unhealthy way to live. And so I really wanted to help attorneys, set those boundaries, live a healthy lifestyle, make time for themselves. And then I kind of quickly realized, like, I don't really want to be a health coach. Like, that's not that's not for me. And then I was like, oh, back to square one. What do I do? And I literally remember this exact moment sitting on my couch and realized that, like, it just came to me that there's so many people that are so many entrepreneurs, and so much, like, and this was mid 2020. And so there are just so many people, stepping around, like, with COVID, so many people just building their own businesses, and they have no idea, like, what they need from a legal standpoint. And a lot of people are just afraid of it, honestly. And I get it. It's overwhelming. It can be, if you don't know the investments, like, it can be really expensive. Like, many attorneys charge hourly rates, which I do, but I make sure it's my goal is to make it accessible for business owners at every stage. And so I would say that with the energy piece that kind of built into it, that's like when I really started getting into personal development, and really started diving into manifestation, and really, like, Abraham Hicks and creating your own reality. And that's just all a part of me and how I work, is that I am very spiritual. And I work with a lot of women that are very spiritual. And I think that it's like, people don't really care about the nuts and bolts of a contract. Like, of course they want me to take care of that, and they want to make sure that I know that, which of course, fair and very important. And I do know that, but I think where the empowerment comes in to actually get your legal protection in order is where they understand what that's going to do for them as a CEO, how they're energetically going to show up in a much more confident way, because they know that they've got all their protections in place. Because that, when you don't, it's, even if you think you're showing up confidently, it's kind of like in the back of your head, like, I have no idea if my brand's being used by some other company. No idea. I didn't check. I like it, so I'm going to use it, and I don't know if my client is going to continue on her payment plan because we don't have a contract, like, fingers crossed, and, like, that is not the way that you want to show up. It's just that it's a recipe for not showing up confidently and not really giving your 110% to your clients.
So true, isn't it? And just having that confidence is what's, running a business. There's so many things to think about, so many things to juggle.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that comes from, or your success comes from, the right energy. And if you're spending all your time just kind of spinning all these plates and not knowing, not having that confidence on, what's going to happen or what could happen, or thinking about those things, then that does impact how you show up. And, you talk about kind of having this idea of confidence that allows you to be the CEO. And I totally agree with you. It completely underpins everything we do, whether it's through marketing, whether it's through your sales, because you got to have that confidence. And then that affects your energy as well, which obviously is kind of where that all brings into it. When we think about kind of legal protection, obviously, it is something that people do find overwhelming if they're not from that industry themselves. Tell me a little bit about why people need to have legal protection, for those of people who are just thinking, oh, this is just an expense, it's something else I've got to pay out on. Why do people need it? Let's get back to basics.
Oh my gosh. You need that. Every business owner needs it, because then they don't have to worry, like, I don't know. There's so many different pieces to this, right? Like when I think about why do you need a contract? Okay. You need a contract because many people have long-term relationships with their clients, and and if they're on payment plans, you want to make sure that your client knows that they're obligated to continue on with their payments, right? You want to protect your income. You also, a lot of coaches, you want to make sure that your results are, there's a disclaimer there that you're protected, because if your client, let's say, your client is excited to work with you because they think that that's going to make, like, just working with you is going to make their business blow up. They don't have to do anything else. And so that is where, you need to set the expectations of what does success look like, and what does that client need to do in order to obtain the most optimal results for them, right? And we need to make sure that, that is in place. We need to make sure boundaries are set. We need to make sure that basically what a contract really does is define the relationship between the client and the coach, or whoever it is. But coaching is a really easy example to use, right? And so I think that that's so important. From a legal perspective, there are consequences to your client breaking the contract or you breaking the contract, but then also the boundaries that you set and the expectations that you set and the expectations that you have for each other. The coach is promising to deliver, however many calls a month, however much support outside of those calls, any other resources, all of that is really important to put into the contract so that your client knows exactly what they're getting. And then you are obligated to deliver exactly that. You can over deliver, of course, it's amazing. But when you under deliver and you don't provide something that you said you would in the contract, that's on you too, versus if the client knows that they're supposed to, have check-ins with you, or, reach out for support in certain situations, show up to calls with, having done whatever homework you give them, and so you can talk about it. All of that can be baked into the contract too, so that so that they, if they don't show up in the way that they're expected to, and they don't achieve the results that they thought they would because they didn't do the work, not because you didn't deliver your end of the bargain, that helps avoid a very uncomfortable situation afterward, after the relationship is over and the client says, hey, I feel like this wasn't worth the money. I want my money back. I didn't get, I thought I was going to start having 50K months and I'm still at 10, right? And it's and the coach could say, well, lovingly, of course, but you didn't do all the work that, you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. I did everything that I could, and I was here for you at every step of the way, but you did not show up and put in the work. So, that's where your results are up to you. Right. And so I think that that's one of the reasons to have a contract. I don't know, I could go on forever, but it's just so important.
Yeah, I think the results piece is the biggest thing, isn't it? It's always something that, if people haven't got the results, or even if let's go back a step, as you said, if people are signing up to work with anybody, and this could be health coaching, it could be a nutritionist, it could be business coaching, they're signing up because they want to get results.
Exactly.
But if they don't get the results, then you need to have that contract in place, because as you say, it takes two. You can show people how to do things, you can give them frameworks, you can give them the tools, but ultimately if they're not taking action, they're not stepping up and doing that work, then that is on them. So I think it's really important to have that, whatever industry, whatever niche you're in.
Yeah.
Contracts we've spoken about. Is there anything else from a kind of a legal protection that you would recommend kind of people having in place, and, kind of almost the kind of the legal checklist? What do people need?
Yeah. So contracts, I would say, I mean, I don't want to rank things, but contracts, super important. Having a separate business entity, which in the UK, I'm not entirely sure how that works. So for some of your listeners, maybe this won't apply, but I'm sure that there's business entities that you set up in some way, right?
Absolutely.
So in that's one of the things that's really important, at least in the US. I always tell my clients that they need to have at least an LLC set up, because from a legal perspective, which is accounting has different, they'll say different things about this, but what a LLC actually does is it separates you as an individual from your company. So it energetically, it allows you to fully say, oh my God, I have a business entity. I am a CEO, and also if your company were to get sued, they're not suing you as an individual. So if you're a sole proprietor, which is basically you have a business and you're doing business under your social security number in the US, which is just basically you don't have a separate entity. If you, for some reason, your business gets sued or there's some sort of a claim against your business, they can go after your personal assets. That's fair game. But if you have a separate business entity, then it's only the assets of your business, not you as an individual. So that's really, really, really important.
And that's really similar to the UK. So we have kind of sole traders and we have limited companies, which is very similar. And one of the reasons that a lot of people do set up that limited company is to create that definition. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then I would say also that protecting your intellectual property is vitally important. A trademark is the number one way that you can take action to do that. So basically what a trademark does is it is protecting like your overarching branding. So if you have a podcast title that's unique, you can protect that with a trademark. If you have, a unique business name, you can protect that with, or even using your name, because I would say that it's important to really trademark that as well, because we want to think long-term, right? And I'll back up real quick and just say that with a trademark, I've worked for very large law firms, and that's where I've started my career. And I've seen the way that large companies with really deep pockets go after smaller businesses for trademark infringement, whether it's warranted or not. And so one of the most important things before anything is to make sure that you aren't accidentally using another company's brand or something that is too similar to that brand, so that that you're good and you're in the clear and your branding can be your own and you have the opportunity to own it. And then I would say starting to get a trademark in place, because thinking about when you are like, yes, it's important at every stage, but think about when you you're building an empire, right? Like you go off on your own, because we know there's no cap to what we can do. And so if you trademark, you're going to own your branding, whether that's the overarching brand name or whether that's a signature course that you create, or a podcast, or, a product name that you have that's really, really special to you, and you're going to planning to sell a lot of them. Your trademark prevents others from stealing your brand. You can take legal action. Once you have that registered trademark, you can take the legal action to stop people from using your branding and copying off of you. And if you decide one day that you want to sell your business, that brand is an asset. Like your trademark is a major asset to your business. If you decide one day that you're like, oh, I'm building this company to sell, then people are going to pay extra for that brand that's well known and that's yours, that you own. So really, really important.
Some really key things there to consider, I think, when you're whatever stage you're at in your business. If you've just started, then now's a great time to be looking at it. But if you have been running your business for a long time and you're thinking, oh, I don't have anything of these in place, definitely go search those things, because the longer you're running, and if you do have a successful program or you've got a really successful product, you don't want that to be taken away from you. You're continuing to build that momentum behind it. And if it's actually a brand that someone else is using, then you're going to have to pull back from it at some point, or the likelihood is it's going to be found. So we're not doing this to scare you. I think it's just more that awareness and doing now's the time to kind of have that sense check of things and really look at what you have got in your business and what you haven't, and to make those changes to not just protect you, but also allow you to have that confidence, allow you to be that real CEO. And as you say, there is no limit to scaling your business when you run it in the way that you want to. So yeah, really, really important. Talking of limiting decisions and kind of stepping into that CEO power, this is where you kind of bring in like all your NLP and your hypnotherapy and things. So tell me a little bit more about that. We've talked a little bit about the legal side of things, that side of it, but I love to kind of hear more around those limiting beliefs and how we manage that. Because I think sometimes, especially if you've just started up your business, you think, oh, I don't need all of that because I've only got a little business, or it's only a small business. But actually, you are a CEO. If you've got a business, you're a CEO, and there is no limit to what you can create.
Exactly. And just really quick about the legal, it's my goal with this is, not for you to come to me when you are in like freak out mode because you have a problem. I mean, of course, I'm happy to help during that time, but the goal is to have the foundation set so that you can, of course, like show up in your power, but also we're going to avoid, when you have that foundation, you can avoid so many problems down the line that can be extremely costly, way more costly than hiring an attorney to get you legally legit at the beginning. So that's super, super important. And as far as NLP, so I actually did it for my own personal, like my own healing, right? Like I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I don't have a lot of limiting beliefs and a lot of things to work through, right? And like
I think we
I
all do, right? Every time we grow, every time we do something else,
yeah.
we always get those little mind monkeys that go, hang on a second, we want to keep you
Oh
safe.
my gosh. Yeah, exactly. Your brain wants to keep you, brain and your ego, they want to keep you safe because that's what's worked for us for our whole lives, right? And so when we step into new levels, we need to have support there because otherwise our brain goes crazy. And so and then it's like one of those things, like, you're like, let's say you like quit your 9 to 5 and you're ready to step into your business full time. And then your brain is like, what did you just do? You just gave up your safe source of income. Like, we were so comfortable. Why do we need to change it? Right? Like, well, because so like working through that is really important. And so NLP really and hypnotherapy really, really helped me in my journey as a business owner, because we know, right, like that as a business, like as a business owner, if you're like, especially if you're like a sole business owner, it's your mindset. It's working on your, like, you've never done more shadow work than you did. Like, who knew that becoming an entrepreneur signs you up for like really, really deep diving into yourself and doing inner work all the time and like trying to reframe your mind and working on that. And so my goal with the NLP piece is it's really about the whole CEO, right? It's not, yes, it's about the legal, and that has energetic shifts behind it, but also, doing the hypnotherapy and doing NLP techniques and really like diving deep into the woman. I would say woman. I mean, I pretty much work, like, women pretty much want to work with me. So, but men can work with me too. But it's like diving into the woman behind the business and really helping, having her realize it is safe to really rise into your power. Sometimes it's more than like, oh, I got my LLC, I got my contracts, I got my, I have an accountant, I have an assistant, I have all the things that are setting me up systematically for success. But like, if your mind is not there, that's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be like pushing a boulder up a rock, or up a mountain. Like, so we really need support around those things.
So important, isn't it? I think it's one of the things that lots of people do miss, that you can have the best strategy possible, but if
Mm-hmm.
your mind's not in it, or if you don't feel into it, or if you don't take those actions, then you're never going to get that success that strategy is there to help you build. It all comes with you. And I think a lot of that is the taking personal responsibility as well, and being like, okay, I want to have this business, I've got my strategy, what is the key piece here? And it is always you, it's always us. And I
Yeah.
go through that too. Every time I'm pushing myself, every time I set a new goal, the same stuff comes up.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that I wrote my book, Healthy You, Wealthy Business, is it's like, you have to put you first. You are the key ingredient. You are that
Mm-hmm.
CEO, and everything does stop with you and
Yeah.
start with you. And I think it's really, really key, isn't it? That,
Yeah.
and also to recognize that it is an ongoing journey. It's not a kind of do it
Oh
once and
yeah.
it's fixed.
Oh
Like,
yeah. And I
it's
do
ongoing.
not want to say, I don't want anyone to come away from this podcast and say, okay, so if I just do one hypnosis on, attracting clients, I'm going to attract all the clients in the world. No,
Yeah.
you can, and same with the NLP techniques that we do. It's not one time. It definitely, it's a tool that helps you really dig into, your inner world and what you're working with and what your limiting decisions. I will say limiting decisions, because a belief or it's just a thought you continue to think that becomes something that you decide, right? And so your limiting decisions, they don't, they're never gone, right? The fear is never gone, but we learn how to rewire our subconscious mind to walk with that, right? Like, and I definitely, I mean, the power of NLP and the power of hypnotherapy is just incredible. But it's not something you do one time and you're cured, right? Like anything. So it's not like, you meditate once and then your vibration is like strong for the rest of your life. It's never like that, right? It's work that we are continually doing, especially when we reach a next level. We start at the bottom of that next level, right? And so it sometimes feels, and I feel like actually that's kind of where I'm at in my business right now, is I have been working through a lot of limiting stuff because I am at the bottom of this next level, right? Like things that don't serve you start to fall away. And it's like, you think it's you and you think it's a problem and you think that like, oh my God, everything's falling apart. But it's just you're reaching this new level. And then when you reach this new level, all the other shit just starts to come up and come up and come up. And it's like, now that we're here. So when we were here, no one can see me. I'm like doing hand gestures, but like when we were at, the top of the level that we were at before, we were good. We were crushing it as much as we could crush it. But then when we're becoming, we're always evolving and always becoming. And when we reach the new level that we're currently at, it feels like we've reached rock bottom again, right? Like,
yeah,
it really does. And so we have to have the support to work through that and realize that like, no, it's not all falling apart. We're evolving, our clients are evolving with us, and we are opening ourselves up to receive even more, even though it may feel like you're like, oh, I thought I did all this work, I thought it was done. It's never done.
it's never done, is it? And I think also you can never, once you start learning about this and you start knowing about it, you can never unknow that. And I think that's
Right.
the hardest thing. So it ends up being this kind
Yes.
of, well, not the hardest thing, but it comes really, really exciting as well. But I think for some people, it can feel frustrating because you're like, oh, okay, I've moved this level. Now I want to keep growing. I want to, and especially if you're an ambitious business owner, which many
Mm-hmm.
people are, because, that's the reason you're an entrepreneur is you've got all of these amazing ideas. And you got to keep working on you as well as your business. And I think that becomes a natural juggle as well of going, actually, I have to create space, I have to create time in my day and my weeks to allow me to go through those things. If you're constantly
Mm-hmm.
overgiving or giving to your audience, your clients, then you do feel like you're getting stuck, you do feel like you're getting overwhelmed. So you have to create that space to do that work.
Yes.
And I think that's really important as well. um, I think that how do people, if they're kind of listening to this, I'm curious. So how do people start? Is it a way of kind of going, okay, I need to go and get hypnotherapy
Mm-hmm.
sessions, or I'm feeling this? Or are there questions we can ask ourselves, or are there things
Yeah.
that we can do to kind of help us work through of going, actually, is this a limiting decision? Is this my mindset?
Mm-hmm.
Have I reached the top of that level that I'm at?
Yeah.
How do people navigate that?
I will say what's from what's really helped me. And I will say, like, you don't have to run out and get hypnotherapy, but one thing that is really amazing about a hypnotherapy session is that it is tailored to you. It's not, it's all like in hypnotherapy, we actually use the client's words in order to, retrain and rewire their brain, right? And to really get into their subconscious, because the words that they're saying are coming from deep from their subconscious mind. And so we're basically just repeating that back to them, which is a really, really beautiful thing. And so having that is really helpful. Yes. But if you are just like, okay, where do I dive in? You can find on YouTube, you can find hypnoses, like any, like, you can find that stuff that is, let's say, you want to like you have limiting beliefs around money, which is a very common one, right? We all have some sort of money. We're always doing money work, especially as entrepreneurs, right? And so you can find hypnotherapy, like sleep hypnoses. You can find regular like meditation hypnoses, that hypnosis that is centered around what you want to work on. So YouTube is a really amazing resource. I would also say that, Dr. Joe Dispenza's work is really, really incredible. And I listen to Abraham Hicks constantly. And I think, and one of the first spiritual books that I ever read was The Law of Attraction, and understanding the law of attraction and how we create our own. It still blows my mind sometimes, because I'm like, I created this. Why did I do that? What's wrong with me? Like, but then it's also really empowering. Like, oh my God, I created this, so I can create anything else that I want. You can create. And so I think, reading that book, The Law of Attraction, or listening to little snippets of Abraham Hicks, are really amazing places to start.
Yeah, some really good tips there and really good recommendations. And both of those I enjoy listening to. And I think if you can find something that feels bespoke to you and what you're needing support on, so that awareness of what those limiting decisions or those limiting beliefs are coming up, and then you can kind of focus, whether it's money, whether it's, growth, whether it's success, and then kind of, seeking out something that allows you to create what you want. But I think I know you want to grab something, but I want to pull something into this as well, because I think it's amazing to do all of that work, but you still got to take that action, right? Like, I love manifesting. I love the, creating what you want, but we can put all that out, but you still have to take intentional action off the back of it to actually see those results. And that's where that decision making comes in, isn't it? Those limiting decisions, and actually, move forwards with the things that make a difference.
Yeah. And those things really prevent, a lot of those limiting decisions. And really, like, your brain and your subconscious mind is wired to keep you safe, right? And sometimes that prevents you, like, you don't want it to, but sometimes it does prevent you from actually taking that aligned action. And so sometimes it's really like not about taking action. It's about really digging into what's preventing you and why you feel like you're spinning your wheels. And then once you feel like you have shifted that a little bit, you can start taking more aligned action that's going to bring you the results, and you're going to do that in a better energy and a better headspace, and that's going to really propel you forward.
Yeah, so important to ask yourself those questions. I love that. What beliefs are preventing you taking action? Really simple question to ask, but actually a really hard one to answer, I think.
It is. And it stings, right? Like, when you realize, one of the things that, like, I still feel like every time I realize this, it's a gut punch. But when you realize that the only thing holding you back is you, it hurts.
Yeah.
And it makes you want to throw up, but it's so empowering, because you can always choose differently.
Yeah.
And it's all about, and that's what it's about. And that's how, you recognizing that you are holding you back is the start to you rising, like, beyond your potential.
Yeah, it's your choices and your actions, isn't it? And that all comes back to this idea of limiting beliefs, limiting decisions. I love the fact that you've combined this with what you do from a legal perspective, because I think that's why a lot of people don't get that sort of support, those frameworks, those real foundational protection in place, is that they don't feel like their business is going to scale to need that. But actually, any business needs that, whatever level you're at. And by having that in place, allows you to go up to that next level. It allows you to keep moving forward and doing those different things as well. Oh my goodness, we've covered so many things, haven't we?
I know, it's been so good.
What would you, so if someone's listening to this, because obviously there's been a little bit of kind of a two-part interview with you. We've got the kind of the legal side of things. We've got the kind of the energetic and the limiting belief side of things, limiting decisions. Where would you recommend people start? Like, where would you, if people are coming to see you, how would you recommend them starting?
Ooh, that's interesting. That's a good one. I mean, it depends on what you're coming to me for, but I really do think the legal is is maybe the most important and most overlooked thing that you can do for your business. And so I really feel like that's a really beautiful way for us to start working together. And then, and through that, I get to learn more about your business and more about you. And then we can figure out if, if there's other things that we can do together, do you want to work through, some of your limiting decisions? What is preventing you from really stepping into that CEO? And if it's just legal, cool. If it's legal that you don't have in place, plus oh my God, I feel paralyzed and frozen and I don't know why, or you have money issues, or whatever it is, we all have something that we need to work through that's going to take us to the next level. And so, I think that is also really a beautiful way to work together too. So there's a lot of ways we can do it. But I definitely think that my first thing is really just legal.
Yeah, get those foundations in place.
Yeah.
And actually, as soon as you have those in place, you can then step into that CEO properly. And quite often that does bring up the other stuff, doesn't it? And then you'll probably find you need different legal things in there because you've upscaled your business. You've got different programs, different products available, and that requires a different level of legal protection.
Absolutely. And it's not just contracts and trademarks. It's those are overarching, really important things. But also, as you grow, as you scale, you start to build teams, you start to build differently and scale differently. And that requires a different phase of legal protection, right? Having agreements in place with all your employees, and having and if you have a team, having a policy, like some sort of a policy manual, all these things are things that people don't always think about, but are so important.
Amazing. Where can people find you if they're listening to this going, oh my goodness, I really need to get this sorted? Where can people find you?
I hang out on Instagram. So my Instagram is elissakaner.co. It's ELISSA is how you spell my first name. And I would love to offer anyone listening that's like, oh shit, I need to get this in order, or if you just really want to talk to me, I would love to offer everyone that's listening a free consultation call, just no strings attached, 15 minutes. We can just chat and I can learn about you. And, I would love to help you make sure that you have your foundations in place.
Amazing. That's such a kind offer. Thank you so much. And do take Elissa up on that, because it is so important to have those things in place. We've spoken about that at length, and not just why it's important, but also the types of things that you can have to put in place. And I know you're perfectly placed to help people do that. So go follow Elissa on Instagram. So elissakaner.co is your Instagram handle, but do reach out, drop a message. And I would love your thoughts on this as well, this conversation. So do please leave some feedback on whichever audio platform you're listening to this episode on. It's really useful for me, but I think also really useful for my guests like Elissa to understand, what is landing with you, what you've kind of your biggest takeaway, what biggest light bulb moment you've had. So after listening to this episode, I would love for you to take action, to get accountable, and let us know what your biggest light bulb moment and takeaway has been from this episode. Elissa, it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. This was a really powerful conversation. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I've loved chatting to you. And I love, as I said right at the beginning, and I have done several times through, I love the fact that you make legal interesting and bring in this energy stuff, because as a business owner, we are the CEOs, we're our biggest assets, and also just need to look after ourselves every time we're growing and scaling. But we need to make sure we've got that legal protection in place to allow us to grow and scale as well.
Yes.
So amazing to have you on. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to us as well. I hope it's given you some food for thought and encourages you to go sense check your legal documents at a minimum. And I will definitely see you on the next episode. So thank you for listening today to the Healthy Business Podcast. I'm Sarah Cook, and you've been listening to myself and Elissa Kaner. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you soon. Thanks for listening to the Healthy Business Podcast. To get your free checklist with 1-minute hacks to accelerate your business and find out more about our community, head to my website, sarahcookmarketing.com/healthy business.